The Golden Triangle, where Myanmar, Laos, and Thailand meet, is a land shaped by mist, jungle, and lawlessness. Here, borders are meaningless, and power belongs to warlords, militias, and criminal syndicates, not governments. The region's isolation and rugged terrain have made it a fortress for illicit trade, especially narcotics. Dense forests hide secret labs, winding rivers become smuggling highways, sending poison downstream to China and beyond. For generations, a shadow economy has thrived here, now dominated by synthetic drugs flooding into China. The landscape is beautiful but deadly, a facade for an industry of suffering and instability. The Golden Triangle is not just a place, it's a resilient ecosystem of crime and survival. Today the crisis is more acute than ever. Poppy fields have given way to hidden factories producing billions of meth pills and deadly precursors. Old trade routes now pulse with a new, faster, deadlier traffic. The region has become a factory for synthetic death, casting a long shadow over China and Asia. This is the Golden Triangle, where the smoke from hidden labs darkens the future of an entire continent. The Golden Triangle's drug story began with the opium poppy. For decades, impoverished farmers grew poppies, fueling a heroin empire run by warlords and exiled armies. Heroin from these hills devastated China, creating new generations of addicts and undermining social stability. Figures like Kun Sa, the Opium King, built private armies and narco-states immune to government control. Their heroin was pure, their roots well-worn arteries of addiction across Asia. Efforts to stop the trade failed. Crop eradication only deepened farmers' dependence on drug lords. The heroin highways became a permanent feature, rooted in poverty, conflict, and weak governance. The cycle seemed unbreakable, until the next, deadlier chapter began. The Golden Triangle's legacy of narcotics was only just beginning. The 21st century brought a seismic shift. Heroin faded, and synthetics took over. Methamphetamine, or yaba, became the new kingpin, easy to make, highly profitable, and not tied to the land. Jungle labs in Myanmar's Shan state now churn out billions of meth pills annually. The Golden Triangle reinvented itself, moving from poppy fields to industrial-scale chemical factories. Meth floods cities from Bangkok to Beijing, but a darker threat looms: fentanyl. The region's expertise in synthetics could easily pivot to fentanyl, risking a public health catastrophe. Unlike opium, synthetics need only chemicals and secrecy. Syndicates now operate like multinational corporations, agile, ruthless, and global. Money laundering, cryptocurrency, and complex supply chains make them hard to stop. The synthetic revolution has made the Golden Triangle's drug problem more potent and harder to contain than ever. The threat is no longer seasonal or local. It's industrial, relentless, and borderless. The world is only beginning to grasp the scale of this new poison. Myanmar's political chaos is the engine of the Golden Triangle's drug boom. The 2021 military coup plunged the country into civil war, leaving border regions lawless. Ethnic militias and criminal syndicates, often with Chinese partners, now run sprawling drug empires. Border towns have become hubs for drugs, scams, gambling, and trafficking, operating with impunity. The drug trade funds all sides of the conflict, fueling a vicious cycle of war and crime. To stop the drugs, you'd have to end the war. But the war is funded by drugs. Myanmar's instability has made it the heart of the region's synthetic drug production. As long as conflict rages, the Borderlands will remain a perfect incubator for crime. China is both the main victim and an unwitting enabler of the Golden Triangle's drug trade. Most of the meth and synthetics produced in Myanmar are destined for China, fueling addiction and instability, especially in Yunnan. Yet China's vast chemical industry produces the precursor chemicals traffickers need. Criminals exploit regulatory gaps, using front companies to divert chemicals from legitimate supply chains. This dual role creates diplomatic headaches. China is pressured to tighten controls, but oversight is nearly impossible. The same chemicals used for medicine or plastics can be repurposed for drugs, making regulation a constant cat-and-mouse game. Chinese authorities invest heavily in border security and crackdowns, but the problem is fueled from within. It's a multi-front war fighting traffickers at the border and policing the chemical industry at home. The global drug trade is deeply interconnected. China is both target and source in the same crisis. The paradox is a source of immense frustration for Beijing. China's response is massive and multi-pronged. The border with Myanmar bristles with fences, sensors, and patrols. Seizures of narcotics are at record highs. Inside China, harsh laws and aggressive policing target traffickers and users alike. In 2024, authorities cracked tens of thousands of drug cases and arrested over 60,000 suspects. China is also tightening control over its chemical industry, expanding the list of regulated substances and enforcing stricter rules. International pressure, especially from the US, has led to some disruption in the fentanyl precursor supply chain. Diplomatic efforts with Myanmar have produced arrests, but civil war and corruption limit cooperation. China's Great Wall of Enforcement is formidable, but the flood of drugs is relentless. The battle is fierce, but the outcome remains uncertain. The drug crisis is a human tragedy, especially in China's southern border provinces. Yunnan, the main entry point, has seen addiction tear families apart and strain local resources. Rising crime, disease, and poverty are the visible scars of the drug trade. While registered drug users are declining, new psychoactive substances are on the rise, especially among youth. The crisis creates internal refugees, people lost to addiction, villages struggling to survive. Enforcement alone can't heal these wounds. Real recovery needs treatment, education, and opportunity. Every pill smuggled across the border leaves a victim in its wake. The true cost of the Golden Triangle's chaos is measured in broken lives. The Golden Triangle's synthetic drug crisis is a global contagion, not just a regional problem. Meth from Myanmar floods not only China but also Australia, Japan, and beyond. Syndicates operate like transnational corporations, collaborating with other criminal groups and using technology to evade law enforcement. The drug trade is a decentralized, borderless network. When one route is cut, another emerges. As the US and China crack down on precursors, new sources like India appear, showing the Hydra effect of enforcement. The global chemical industry makes containment nearly impossible. The crisis has geopolitical consequences, fueling trade disputes and international tension. A breakdown in Myanmar can ripple out to affect public health in Washington or crime in Sydney. The fate of remote jungle villages is now tied to the stability of global superpowers. By late 2025, the war on drugs at China's border feels unwinnable. The root problem is Myanmar's instability. So long as civil war rages, the Golden Triangle will churn out synthetic narcotics. No amount of border security can fully stop the flow. Synthetics are adaptable, profitable, and resilient. When one lab falls, more appear. The business model is built to survive crackdowns, always staying a step ahead. The crisis is driven by poverty, conflict, and relentless demand, problems that can't be solved by enforcement alone. Real solutions require peace, development, and robust public health systems. These are generational challenges, not quick fixes. China's efforts have slowed the damage, but the enemy operates from chaos. The flow may be slowed, but not stopped, until the Golden Triangle itself is transformed. Until then, the shadow of jungle labs will loom large, a threat no wall can contain. The war continues.